All right, so we had like talk about rifles when we were in our little argument in Skype chat today. I wanted to just give my interpretation of rifles and some tips for, teammates who are trying to get a little bit better with them and understand like spray patterns and firing with them in general and peeking with rifles and stuff like that. So I'm just here to give my 2 cents in the matter and what I've learned so far. I think the number one tip for the AK as far as like learning the spray control and the recoil pattern is that you don't really have to know the spray. You don't really have to know the pattern past first 10 bullets. If that, like, if I just spray an entire clip on the wall, let's get a decent distance. Let's go like, yeah, right here's fine. All right, so you can see it's everywhere, but it goes like up, right, left, right. It's like that's what it does. But if I only shoot 10 bullets, like I'll shoot 10 bullets on this wall here. That was 9. But you get the point. It's like straight up. So like that was obviously at an angle, but here I'll shoot some like right here. That's like a straight one. All right, this one. It's straight fucking up. Again, those 9 bullets, but it's straight up. So like you can, as long as your aim is good and your crosshairs like on their body, you only have to shoot like 10 bullets in order to kill them. If you haven't killed them by then you're off of them. Then you're not on them, and your spray's not gonna. You're not gonna like take your spray and just like lock it onto them after shooting like 10 bullets. It's crazy. It's really difficult. Like if you're not pulling down hard enough after that many bullets, you have to pull down like crazy in order to even get it to happen, and it's just a mess. So, like if you want to control 10 bullets, here I'll do it like right next to it, but I'll control it this time. Right, like that's it. That's all you need, for real. You just have to pull down, and it all comes with muscle memory and things. But you just have to like curl your wrist inward. I don't know how to describe it, and it depends on your sensitivity. Like if you have higher sensitivity, you don't have to pull down as much. But it's really like the same motion of your mouse, no matter what the distance is, as long as it's within a reasonable distance of spraying. Like you can spray people from Palace, like in jungle, and it can still be pretty accurate. I mean that's gonna kill somebody that's standing right there. So that's like whenever you see the pros, like you see pro streaming, you see them always spraying from like every distance. That's really how they do it. They don't spray like 30 bullets unless they're insane recoil masters. They usually just spray 10 bullets at people, and generally if it's not on their head, then like it's gonna take 5 or 6 bullets to the body to fucking kill them. Like with AK, you only need to hit them 4 times. Generally speaking, if you're spraying from larger distances, a couple of your bullets are gonna miss. So you need to spray like 5 or 6 bullets. If you have a good accuracy, you have to spray like 5 or 6 bullets in order to kill them. Decent enough. So knowing the recoil pattern from 10 bullets should be more than enough to kill them as long as your crosshairs on them when you're shooting at them. So that'll be the biggest goal. Some people try and go into like recoil master community maps, and they try and learn the full 30 bullet spray pattern, which I guess if you have some extra time on your hands and you just want to learn it, then fine. But I think it's really extraneous and not necessary. Moving on. So when you're using a rifle, most people, when they have a crosshair placement, like the number one, like these things go hand in hand. Of you want to have perfect control of your gun's recoil, but you also want to have your crosshair placement really well. And so, like, say I'm taking a corner. I don't know. Say I'm clearing this, right? Some people will clear the corner like this, and it's like the crosshair's in the middle of nowhere. Nobody's gonna pop out of here. Like if you're clearing a corner and you're trying to go this way, then you want your crosshair to be, if someone appears on your screen, then you want it to be where their head's gonna. You want it to be like in the neighborhood of where their head's gonna be. So you only have to like click and shoot them. If I'm clearing it like this, and someone appears on my screen from right there, then I have to flick to him and shoot him. It's crazy. It's like you're just making it unnecessarily difficult for yourself. So I mean, always keep that in mind. You want to be conscious of your crosshair placement when you're moving or coming around corners, and you want to make sure that your crosshair is like going with you on the corner. Like you don't want to just leave your crosshair in one place. Like sure, my crosshair's here, and then I'm moving. Like you gotta move your crosshair with you, man. That's how you move. So you want to like take corners. If you're taking them slowly, you want to take them like this, and adjust your crosshair accordingly. Going hand in hand with crosshair placement, one of the best tips I can give you for aiming at head level is aim your fucking crosshair higher. Like, people always aim too low. I don't know what it is, but I've never seen somebody aim too high and shoot over the guy's head. I always see them aim too low. Like, generally like right here. This is like stomach level. Like, headshot level is like around here. So like if I have headshot level right here, I can aim a little bit higher. And normally when people shoot, like they get this reflex in the wrist that as soon as they start shooting, they pull down, and they pull down a little too hard at first. Like it's not so much that it's gonna make you shoot at their feet, but it's gonna make your spray go down. Surprisingly enough, like once your spray is going, getting it to actually go down is really difficult. But in the beginning, most people will like jerk down, and your bullets will go down. So if you're aiming too high, and then you see somebody you shoot, it's like you'll jerk down, and one of your bullets will probably hit them in the head just by the reflex. So that's why aiming higher is generally better than aiming lower, since you're kind of reflexively pulling down when you're shooting the rifle anyway. But yeah. But when you're peeking, you want to peek like this is a really small tip, but it's really important. When you're peeking, you want to peek with your 80-80 keys. You don't want to peek with your forward key. The reason why is because with your 80-80 keys, you can counter strafe. You can, like, say I'm moving right, say I'm hitting my D key and I'm moving right, I can tap the strafe key in the opposite direction, and that's going to make me stop, which is really important because when you're shooting a rifle and you're moving, especially with the AK, you're inaccurate. You're insanely inaccurate. Watch. Like, how the fuck am I going to control that? So if I'm just moving to the left, right, like you can see my velocity in the top left, you can see the neck graph in the top left, right? So say I'm just hit my A key and I let it go. Like I'm hitting my strafe keys and I'm just letting them go. I'm not counter strafing. You see the fucking value goes up to 215 and it just kind of like slowly goes down there. But if I counter strafe immediately, it's 0. So this is why you want to peek with the left-right keys. Like you can counter strafe with your W and D key, your W and S keys, but it's hard because like you have like any normal person has their middle finger on the W key and their index finger on the D key and their ring finger on the A key. So it's easy. You have 2 fingers on the keys already. But with the S key, you have to like you have to use your middle finger to like counter strafe, and it's hard. Or you have to like do some weird thing with your middle index. I don't know. It's just way easier for your A and D keys. Your fingers are already there. So like I'm spraying. You know, I can get it all really condensed just because. But if I'm moving, like it's all over the place. It's clearly much more condensed when you counter strafe. So when you're taking corners, you want to take corners like, say I want to peek this corner, I want to peek counter strafe. So I want to like have my crosshair well placed. So let's say there's a guy like gonna be right there, then I want to like pre-fire him. That's how, if you ever have those problems with riflers, will they'll just kind of appear on your screen and then just shoot at you. Like they'll just appear on your screen, you'll be dead instantly. That's what they're doing. They're counter strafing and they're pre-firing the corner that they think you're gonna be. I mean, it's all you'll have to do. So, yeah, always counter strafe. And counter strafing is also really good when you're like, when you're at a far distance from somebody. Like, you can spray people down. Like, say I'm at the bottom of mid and they're at the top of mid. You can spray people from this distance, but the problem is if you're in a gunfight with somebody, usually instead of spraying, like, it's hard to spray at somebody and hit them when they're not spraying at you back. Like, if they're moving left and right, then your spray's gonna like, it's gonna be straight, but it's not gonna hit them because they're just moving around, and you can't like follow them with the spray easily for longer distances just because of how much of the spread is. So like, if it's a closer distance, like right here and they're moving, it doesn't really matter. Your spray, you can like keep your spray on them just by like crouching and moving, or just moving your crosshair in general. But from a farther distance, chances are people, instead of spraying at you back, they're gonna do something like this, where they're gonna like. Or like even tap at you. Yeah, something like that. So like they're gonna be moving. So being a moving target, obviously it's gonna be a lot more difficult for you to hit them when you're spraying. Like it's really hard. So if you're in like a 1v1 gun battle like this, I would honestly prefer just not take this engagement. But if you're in a 1v1 gun battle like this and you're doing it, you want to do the same thing that they're doing. You know, you're basically kind of like in a pistol war where you're trying to strafe back and forth, and whoever gets the headshot wins. It's basically a similar idea, you know. But this is also good for resetting your recoil. You know, like if you ever notice, like if you're shooting. Like anybody shoots like that, if you try to shoot it like that before when you were like in lower ranks, like you were in silver, and you try to shoot like this, you'll like let go of your mouse one, and you'll be like, "What the fuck? Why are my bullets not accurate even after I stop shooting?" Well, it's because there's like a cooldown period after you stop shooting that you have to wait before your recoil completely resets and goes to where your crosshair is. So if you're just doing that, then your recoil's actually resetting, and you're just moving higher and higher. It's not. Instead of a recoil being like one fluid motion, it's just stopping and starting, but it's still in the same spot that it was when it ended. It's kind of a weird idea, but if you want to reset your recoil, it's a good thing to do to like move, counter strafe, and then shoot. Like you won't be moving, and your recoil will have reset, so you'll be more accurate with your first shot. That's why like tapping like this is hard. Like when you're just like one-tapping people and you're just standing still and you're doing it too quickly. Like as you can see, those are basically in the same spot, but that's enough variance to hit somebody's head or miss somebody's head. Or maybe even if you tap a little faster. As you can see, that's spray pattern just going upwards, so it's like you want to, when you're one-tapping people, like you can one-tap at people like that maybe 3 or 4 times, but then you want to move yourself. Like number one, a moving target makes you more difficult to hit, and like if you're just standing still, it's easy for them to just adjust to where you're at and just lock onto your head. But in addition to that, you obviously want to reset your recoil, and you want to make it so that your bullets are actually going to be accurate. Because if you don't know, if your crosshairs on them, then ideally you want it to hit their head. But if you don't know if your recoil hasn't reset, you have no fucking idea where your bullet's going to go. So that's a good idea to do that. But say I'm a terrorist and I'm trying to take a site, right? And I'm going in. Peeking dry is like the worst thing you can do with a rifle, because you're coming in and you're coming in and you're exposed to a whole bunch of different angles at once. That's like just a general. That's just the thing when you're going into any bomb site. So like just peeking dry without any smokes, any Molotovs, flashes, nothing is just it's a death trap. And people will always like, well, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I go in with a rifle and then I get picked with an op. Well, yeah, no shit, you didn't. Like you get picked with an op here, you didn't smoke that. Like this engagement, rifle versus op, obviously the opera's gonna win. So you want like to smoke off the common angles and at least throw flashbangs or have your teammates flashing for you when you're going in. To the very least, have somewhat of a kind of safe way to entry frag when you're going in with a rifle. It's hard, but along with that, like say I'm trying to take a corner, right? Say I'm trying to move into a bomb site, and that was a good example. Say I'm like mid on Mirage, right? And it's kind of later in the round, so there could be terrorists. There could be like counter terrorists that are already like set up on mid, and you're trying to clear this place out. Probably the worst way you can take the corner is like this. Like you're doing this, you're taking like. Playing close to the wall is cool. Like some people get confused because they think they want to play close to the wall because it doesn't expose them to this angle. Well, that's true, but as soon as you come around the wall, you expose yourself to like here, mid, window, that guy on cat, somewhere like I boosted on that box, lower connector. You're exposed to a whole bunch of different angles at once, and it's like you don't want to do that when you're clearing out angles. You want to clear them one at a time. You don't want to just go like and peek everything at once. So instead of clearing corners like this, you want to clear them like more methodically. You want to like come swing out and clear there, and then you want to swing out a little bit further, maybe like swing out a little bit further, clear there, and then swing out a little bit further and clear connector, and then swing out a little bit further and clear like that box, and swing out a little bit further and hit window, and then clear cat, and then get a little bit closer and clear mid. Like that's probably one of the best tips I can give you for when your rifler coming around a corner is you want to obviously you need to have good crosshair placement because you want to still have your crosshair at head level. It's a little bit more difficult when you're at distances like this, but it's still not that hard. But you want to have your crosshair decently placed so that when you're clearing these corners and you see somebody, you can just click and shoot them instead of having to flick your crosshair to them. Occasionally people will play off angles, so you'll have to move your crosshair a little bit, and that's just muscle memory. But when you're coming around corners, you want to make sure that you still have decent crosshair placement for when you actually have to shoot somebody. But yeah, stop taking corners like this and start taking corners tighter. Something like that. You'll have far less time of dying. Let's see. Alright. Stop doing this. If you do this, stop doing this, because this is really scrubby. It's like it's a super common habit deathmatch to try and fucking jump peek shit, or the moment you see someone, just habitually jump when someone's shooting at you, and it's so bad. It's like the worst thing you can do. It's such like a panicky move that just makes it so random, and like you're probably gonna die because like obviously fucking jump shooting an AK, it's never gonna be accurate. But I swear to God, I see somebody, they'll come here, and they'll kind of clear on connector, and they'll either jump peek it altogether, or they'll come see somebody and they'll just jump. Like somebody will be here in corner of the connector and they'll just jump. It's like, that's not going to help you. You're just going to die that way. Like if someone's shooting at you, and you jump, you can't shoot back at them. You can't shoot any bullets back at them they're going to be accurate. If you jump and you kill them, it's because you got lucky and you got a headshot, or your bullet's actually connected. But like 99 times out of 100, when you do this and you jump, you're just gonna fucking die anyway. Like you gotta keep composure in situations like this. If someone catches you off guard, sure, but you shouldn't. But your crosshair should still be like in a decent place. You shouldn't allow people to catch you off guard. You want to always like be weary. There could be somebody hiding in this corner. And you want your crosshair to be placed accordingly, so that when you're coming and clearing the corner, that even if you're not expecting someone to be there, you can at very least shoot back at them when they're shooting at you and have a chance to kill them instead of just jumping. Like literally, the only reason for someone to jump peek a corner is if they're trying to like make an offer miss. But honestly, that's a cool little trick when you're like a gold nova. But when you get into the higher ranks, like operas are gonna do one or two things. They're either gonna wait for you to land and then just shoot you, or they're gonna flick to your body and kill you. It's like like lower rank operas might be jittery enough to just shoot the moment that they see somebody, but any opera who's composed is gonna know, okay, he's jumping away from the land, bam, he's dead. Or just flick to you, like just be fancy and just flick to your body when you're in the air. It's not a good option. Like if you really have nothing better to do, then go for it, but it's not the greatest option. Like if you're really concerned about like an opera, you can jiggle peek them. Like you can kind of like say there's an opera post on palace, you can just like jiggle peek. Always jiggle peek with your knife because you jiggle peek the fastest. Like if you jiggle peek with your rifle, you'll still probably get a decent jiggle peek to the point where they won't hit you, but you'll jiggle peek faster like this, and you can show yourself and get back under cover faster. And definitely don't jiggle peek with an op, or even worse, a scoped in op. You're guaranteed gonna get killed. Like that's not a hard shoulder peek to hit. Let's see. Okay, so when you want to get like, obviously I'm telling you all this stuff, and you know you hear it and you understand it, but you got to go and actively practice this stuff. Like it's not like a lot of these things aren't easy. Like being coordinated enough to do this. Being able to like hit the counter strafe perfectly and like have your crosshair placed perfectly takes practice. It seems like it's really basic, but even that takes practice. You know, being coordinated enough to do a counter strafe. Like I remember when I wasn't even still I do it too fast sometimes, but I remember like when I first saw somebody do that, I was nowhere near like coordinated enough to be able to do all that together and not just fuck it up and be inaccurate. So it's like you want to go into servers and actually practice this. I mean, obviously, the most useful of the things you can do. Well, I don't know about the most useful, but the most common way to do it is with deathmatch, where you just go into a server and just start shooting, just start fragging out, and like it's good to go into a deathmatch server and get some kills on it. I'll join right now. It's on Inferno. God damn it. Alright, whatever, I'll join it anyway. where okay. So like you join a DM server, right? And you just get like I killed that guy, obviously, but you can just come into a deathmatch server and just fuck Rex. And you know, just frag out for a bit. And it's good to like warm up your hands and jeez, it's really hard to talk and shoot at the same time. But you know, it's good to warm up your hands and warm up your crosshair placement and kind of get a feel for your rifle, but I don't know. Look at this guy. But it's really easy to get frustrated when you're in deathmatch. Like, it's really easy to just get killed like a bunch of times in a row and just miss a bunch of shots, and you're just gonna feel like, man, I suck. I can't do this. Deathmatch is just like a random occurrence, and it's not. It doesn't parallel the game at all. So when you're doing it and you die like 10 times in a row, just remember it's like a random game with random spawns and people are faggots and they hide in pit. Like it's just how it is. And obviously people are gonna be hitting nice shots on you. Like they're good. Like yeah, community DMs got pretty decent players, but and they do that bullshit where they like I don't get how people do that, man. I just don't get it. Damn, I think I have 52. Crazy. Yeah, I'm not that great on Inferno, to be honest. I hate this map in general, so whenever
Double kill!
I'm not the greatest with the angles, I'm not the greatest with knowing where to go. But it is what it is. See, like he's jumping. What are you doing, dude? Why? You gonna do that in a calm match? You're just gonna die. I don't know.
What the fuck? What are we standing on?
Needless to say, it's really annoying to have shit like this happen in deathmatch. So like, I don't know. I might get one more kill. So you guys just be out.
Double kill!
But
headshot!
See, that was the crosshair placement. Yeah, it was right on his head. That's such a hard thing to see. Getting graveyard like that. See, like he's jump peeking. Like, what are you doing, dude?
Headshot!
Yeah, it's hard. And you obviously get two people coming at you from a corner like that. It's just, I don't know, it sucks.
Headshot!
It's crazy. I'm a scrub. Oh, yeah, that's another thing I want to talk about is like, the duck. I'm gonna leave this stupid server. But you can go to deathmatch, and you know you can. It's decent. You know, you don't have to. Like the other options that I'm going to give you, you're going to be shooting bots, but these are a little bit more active than playing a deathmatch. You're not just going to be getting killed over and over again. But there's two community maps that I really like, and one of them is called Aim Bots, and the other one is the Fast Aim Reflex Training. I'll go to this one first because this was the first community server that I actually subscribed to. But this is a really good map. It's really simple and you know not complicated to work, but it's was one of the most useful most useful maps that I used when I was first starting to learn how to aim. Like when my first couple of weeks in the game. But you want to join counter side, and you spawn with an AK and a deagle. You can buy whatever weapons you want, buy times unlimited. If you want to give yourself an M4, you can just give space weapon underscore M4A4 or M4A1S or M4A1 silence. But you shoot the first bot and they start coming at you. They're gonna try and knife you, so you want to turn God mode on, so you can't die. But yeah, that's it. Then you just frag out. And this is useful for a variety of things, like you can use it as like spray control. Or you can use it as like pressure headshot aim. Like it really. See, my recoil didn't reset there, but it's really up to you how you want to use this map. It just gives you a lot of targets that you can shoot at without having to worry about them shooting back at you and you dying every, 5-10 seconds and getting mad. So if you find yourself in a deathmatch and you're getting a little frustrated just by the fact that you're getting headshot and opt everywhere you go, then these maps are a little bit better if you want to be a little more active with what you're doing. But you can really use this map any way you want. Like you can use it to practice spraying. Like if you want to spray someone's body at like a long range, you can just I can help you practice keeping your spray on people when they're like a little bit further distances. Obviously, when you find yourself getting better with like crosshair placement and aiming, then you want to start aiming for people's heads. That's why like on servers like this, they just be aiming at their head. It kind of helps you get a feel for how your crosshair should be. It kind of helps you get a feeling for how your crosshair should be like at certain distances in order to be at head level. But it's a good map. Really simple. You can use any gun you want. Like I suck with the deagle, but it's also pretty useful for an op. You can practice like op shots where you're letting someone run into your crosshair, or you can practice flick shots. So you can just aim at some random place and just flick to their body. Whatever you want. Like it's a really useful map. It's a good warm-up map, and it's not a like. What's it called? It's not like setup intensive or anything. It's just you go into it and you can use it. But the other one I like is aimbots. This one's a little bit more useful if you want to practice your spray on like a stationary standing target instead of a target that's running around in circles, because that can be kind of frustrating if you can't hit the moving targets. So you might want to start with like the targets that are standing still. That's what this map is mainly good for. And what's cool about this map is you can make it so that the bots are standing at whatever. Which side do you join here? You join Terry's side. You make so that the bots are at whatever distances that you like. Obviously, they start at like around this distance, but you can come over here. These things bring up walls like this at certain distances to make it more close range and more far range. But you can kick bots. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but fix add bots restarts it, because sometimes you'll get to the point where the bots aren't spawning anymore. You can make them have Kevlar helmet, like toggle that on and off. Like there's a whole bunch of settings. The one that I like is long range and ground. And then they'll start spawning after you shoot them. So you just start shooting them. And you can. You can just use this for one tapping like I am doing, but once they start spawning further away, this can help you when you're trying to spray targets at longer distances, like for example this guy. Not a long distance, but you can try and spray this guy. And you're going to benefit more from using your spray if you're not spraying at their head. Like if you're not pre-aimed on their head, you want to try and like aim at their body. If you end up hitting their head, that's fine, but you want to ideally be aimed at their body just because you're practicing controlling your spray and keeping it on their body rather than hitting their head and aiming at their head. Yeah, it's not so easy. Like distances like this is like pretty ignorant when you're trying to do it in one full spray. Like I don't think any pros would, if they're in an actual match, would try and spray from that far away. That's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, once you pick off these bots, eventually you'll get ones that start spawning like around you, and from then you can like stand closer, stand back. Here, let me restart this.
This still seems like a good idea, right guys?
But where the heck are they? There they are. but you know they'll kind of spread out, and you can kind of control the distance that you're at by just moving around in a little arena. Like you can move a little further away, and you know they'll start spawning like. You can mess with it however you want. It helps you learn how to pull down, and it helps you learn a lot of other stuff, but one cool feature that I like is like when you're coming around a corner and you duck, like what ducking does when you're spraying, like it doesn't actually, let's see if I have show impacts on. Like when you're ducking, it doesn't actually change your spray pattern. Like if I spray on the wall, okay, that's not good enough. Let me get a closer wall. Like say I spray on this thing, right? Like, okay. And then I crouch and I spray on this thing. Like, spray pattern is the same. It doesn't actually change the spray pattern. What it does is it changes the spread of your spray pattern. Like, not all spray patterns are created equal, and they're not all the same. Like, one spray pattern is going to be slightly different from the last one in terms of where your bullets actually go. It's just, in general, the pattern is the same. So that's why people call it a spray pattern, but every one of them is going to be different. But what crouching does is it like reduces the spread of it, and your crouch sprays will be a lot more, not condensed, but they'll be far less randomized than the standing up ones. But you don't need to crouch to spray at all, to be honest. Like the main things that crouching is good for is when you're trying to peek an angle and people are going to be pre-aimed on your head, like if you're trying to come around a corner. When you're coming around a corner, like I said, with crosser placement, like if you're holding a corner and someone comes around the corner, you want to have your crosser's going to be at their head level, so they pop out. All you have to do is click and you'll hit them in the head, right? So what crouching can be useful for is coming around a corner, like coming around immediately crouching, while pre-aimed on their head. So it's like you're fucking with their crosshair placement while also kind of making yours better, because you can be like aiming a little bit too high, and then you know it's definitely good for that, because generally speaking, if they start spraying at you and they're spraying at your head level when you would be standing and you're crouching, then they're going to start like above your head, and it's like I said earlier, it's really hard to get your spray pattern to go down after you've already started it. So like chances are all of their bullets will just go over your head and you'll get a free kill. Like it happens a lot more often than you might think. But another good thing, like I said earlier, when you're spraying and you're not pulling down hard enough, your spray is going to be too high, and it'll be like going above them. Like that's the most common way for someone to miss their spray, is for not pulling down hard enough, or having your crosshair too high, and your spray is all like you miss all of your bullets just because they all go above them. So like if you're starting your spray and you kind of feel that it's started too high, like say I start spraying at this guy, you can duck and it'll bring your bullets down as if you're pulling down, but it's like a jolt of you bringing your bullets down. Just it can really help you fix your spray and make it head level when it wasn't head level before. Like, here, let me see, like that. You know, like it'll pull your spray down, and if your spray's too high, generally speaking, if you're within the first few bullets, it's gonna pull your crosshair down to their head. So like if you're coming around a corner, you can kind of crouch and aim. And that's another cool thing about it. Like crouching, if you're an opera, you'll probably already know that crouching stops your movement. So you can be moving, and it's another way for you to counter strafe and stop moving. Like I need a closer bot for this to work, but you can kind of like come and you crouch and you start shooting at people, and it'll look like you're moving because you're coming around a corner and you're running, but you just crouch, and you can like come around a corner, crouch, and keep pressing the direction you're going, and crab walk spray them. And crab walk spray is surprisingly accurate for what it is. I'll put up spray balls again. As you can see, the bullets are going pretty straight across this wall. Like, they started down here, but like once your spray pattern reaches like the peak of it, it's just gonna stay there. So like when you're crab walk spraying, you're like a moving target, but you're also like your spray's relatively accurate. Like if you're like it's a great emergency exit button if you're like in a spray battle with somebody and you're missing all your fucking shots, then you can just start crab walk spraying, and you'll be moving, so you'll kind of be moving out of their spray while also at the same time your spray will be relatively accurate and you might get a lucky headshot or two. It's interesting. It really depends on the situation. Like I don't like doing it so much, but when you're in a spray battle with somebody, it can definitely give you the upper hand and make it so that you don't just get wrecked. But the one thing I'll say about crouching is you don't want to spam it, and you don't want to do it way too often, because it's a really janky habit to get into when you first start learning to spray, because you first learn crosshair placement in your spray, because it can definitely be, say for example you're holding an angle on somebody and you have your crosshair like at their head level and they come around the corner. If you get to the point where you're instinctually just hitting crouch every time you start shooting, then you can be at their head level, like say I'm at this guy's head level, and then they come and then I crouch and I start shooting, and now I'm not at head level anymore, so now I'm shooting them in the chest, and it's like you're fucking up your crosshair placement to the point where you have the advantage on them. You have your crosshair at their head level, and if they come around, you're gonna die. But if you instinctively crouch, then you're shooting them in the body, and then it's an aim duel, and it's something you don't want to take. Like when you have the advantage like that on somebody, and they have to peek, and they don't necessarily know where you are, you don't want to give them the aim duel that you don't have to. So you have to use it sparingly. It's usually good when you're peeking, but it's not good when someone else is peeking you. Obviously, someone else can use the same trick, and they can come and crouch peek you, so that your spray is off. But that's where you can crouch back. Like your spray is going to be too high because they crouch for it, and then you can use your crouch and pull down a little bit more to compensate for their crouch, and then it becomes a big mind game. So it's something you kind of have to get a feel for on a case by case basis. But I definitely it's good to get into the habit of doing, but I wouldn't recommend just spamming it every time you start shooting your gun. You can spray. You can spray perfectly fine without having to rely on gimmicks like ducking and stuff. But that is what it is. That's basically all I have for rifles at this point. It's a journey. Getting good with a rifle takes a lot of practice, and me personally, when I first started playing the game, I was seeing more success with the op than I was with the rifle, and so I wanted to just op. But you really can't ignore the fact that the rifles are really important. You're going to have to get used to them at some point, because you can't always have an op. It's an expensive weapon, and sometimes you're going to have a full buy, and your opper's not going to have an op. So you got to be good with it. It takes a lot of practice, and obviously spray patterns are kind of annoying to memorize, but eventually it becomes second nature, and you don't really have to do elementary things like this anymore. But hopefully this helped.